Good early afternoon. We are live here at Wisdom Harbor Studios in Orange Beach, Alabama at the Wharf. I'm Andy Andrews, and you have joined us on a rainy day. It's raining here in Orange Beach. It doesn't happen often. It's happened a lot lately, but we're glad you're here. If you visit the Marlin statues and the escalator statues are ready and available to take photos with. If you're new, we would be honored if you would click that notification button on Facebook and turn on the notifications on your phone. And that way, when we go live, anything we do here, you will be notified. Also, if you're on YouTube, punch that subscription button. That really helps us. And we welcome the Twitter people and the LinkedIn people. So, how you like my shirt? You like the shirt? The shirt is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, the cornerstone here at the Wharf. Bob Woodall, are you on the road ready? All right, Bob Woodall from Dothan. Where are you on the road to? Don't be watching, just listen, okay? Keep your eye on the road, Bob. Bob's about as ADD as I am. I didn't see that in the newspaper. Bob Woodall wrecks listening to his friend. So, Margaret Davis Holt from Northeast Mississippi, ready for another invigorating show. This show is going to be invigorating, and it's going to be educational. Today, we're going to be talking about the rarely used words that should be in your vocabulary. We got 20 of them. Cindy Ziegler Oates in South Lake, Texas. I'm glad you're here, Cindy. Now here's that you're Tom's sister, and my sister is here, Christy. Betty Ayers from Troy, Alabama. Is it raining there too? Yep, it's pretty wet here. I mean, man, it's like pouring. It's pouring. We got people in the studio today. We're glad to have you guys here. Eva Jean Hodge, Ron Reams from the Reams Casa in Mobile. Deborah Scalafini Luisi. I hope that's right. Mike Jakubik in Arizona, where it's like 120. Yeah, I know, it's a dry heat. So is my oven. And in studio, we have Mike and Kaylin Davis on honeymoon from Louisiana. Is that you guys? You guys look like you're on a honeymoon. You're sitting closer together than anybody else here. So, all right. Well, we're glad you guys are here. This is not much of a honeymoon, coming to a Blue Plate special. You could have taken her somewhere fascinating or something, but well, we're glad you're here. And then Rodney and Teresa. Now, are you guys really from Slapout, Alabama? I know somebody from Slapout. Okay, Brian and Michelle are from Slapout. I just think that is the greatest name of a town, Slapout. And Luke Kyle from Tuscumbia. All right. Glad you guys are here. And there's little M right over there. Wave to us. Hey, little M. Yeah, good. There's our Generation Z, our little 6-year-old out there holding down the fort. Our director of social media, 6 years old. And Matthew Gerard Jakubik is watching from the escalator statue today. Wow, that's awesome. Deborah from New Orleans, Patricia Matthews Massengill. And she used Monday's show in your devotion this week with your students at Anderson University in South Carolina. Monday's show. Did we do a show Monday? Maybe you mean Tuesdays.
I don't know if she's meaning the show or maybe the podcast too. It could have been with Julie Richard. She might find that
Yeah,
one.
she could have used Julie Richard's podcast. That was very funny. I mean, if you haven't seen The Professional Noticer this week, you need to watch The Professional Noticer with Julie Richard this week. She is the honcho of Fearless Mom. And that story she told about her 3-year-old daughter and her 3-year-old daughter's
killing me.
imaginary husband, Michael. I mean, God. That was, I was like doing this after. I do that a lot after I talk to Julie. Says, oh my gosh. Debbie Allen from Ohio. Julian Gilly from Indiana. You know, Bill and Gloria are up in Indiana too. And Gail or Campbell, Gail's from Tennessee. You guys ready to get started on the words? Mike Jakubic says, hey from the desert, and it's only 91 degrees and sunny with a 0% chance of rain. You know, we need to talk about this, dry heat thing. Because I was in Las Vegas one time, and it was 116. And I'm going to tell you something. When it's 116, I don't care if it's dry, if it's wet, if it's moist. I don't care. It's 116, and it's hot. Hey, Kevin Corcoran, you ever been? What, Kevin Corcoran? I've eaten dinner with you in Las Vegas, so you've been 100. But I kind of understand it because here on the Gulf Coast, you know, we have, it'll be like 50 degrees in the wintertime. And we're like, man, we're throwing on every coat and jacket we have. I mean, women wear their fur coats when it's 50 degrees here. And people say, really? Is it cold? Well, it's a wet cold, you know? I mean, it's blowing off the Gulf, that humidity, it's a wet cold. And so it just makes it colder. Edwina English, good afternoon from beautiful San Antonio, where a lot of people speak Spanish in San Antonio. I always get my Spanish language skills sharpened when I go to San Antonio. You know I speak Spanish.
See.
See. Yeah. See. That's good. I'll be the funny one, Matt. Yes. And in fact, I can make many Spanish people laugh by speaking Spanish. Because I just look them in the eye and I say, ¿Dónde está la playa? No tengo dinero. El perro es enfermo. Which is the, where's the beach? I have no money. The dog is very sick. And I also know favor usar pasamanos, which is please use the handrail, and vámonos, guaguas. You noticed my watch. Yeah, I don't usually wear a watch, but I have a cool watch. It's kind of a James Bond watch. Yep. I see it is 12:23. Ooh, it's a little dark. The lens is a little dark. I need to see it a little better. There we go. Yes, 12:23. Okay, you ready? I gotta tell you, I used that watch in church one day. The watch was a gift, and I used it. Melanie Martin, who, if you've read Just Jones, Melanie Martin is all over that book, and she's funny in that book because she's funny in real life. And Cindy Ziegler Oates says Andy Bond. Yes, right, Bond, Andy Bond. Cindy, I was in church, and I had the watch. and Melanie was sitting right next to me. And I was willing to wear it week after week, but I got a hell reference the first time that I wore it. And, the preacher said something about hell. And I looked over at Melanie and I went, hell? And she goes, that? And I went, and she came unglued. She came unglued. She was like about to laugh on the floor. It was one of my finest moments. I used to do that all the time when I was a kid. I was great in church. I'll just tell you, it's some of my best work in church because my friends, our parents were like up in the choir and they were all looking at us and giving us these looks and stuff. And I would be very, like what, I don't know what they're laughing at. One of my greatest was on Easter Sunday when I was in the fourth grade, and they sang "Up from the Grave He Arose," and I sang just loud enough for my friends to hear me. Up from the grave he arose with a mighty booger in his nose, and that just killed them. That killed them. They came unglued. They were like Melanie with the fire. There's Kevin Perkins, old man. Kevin says, I have a black belt in church humor. Yeah, that's true. Okay, all right, you ready for the words? Rarely used words that should be in your vocabulary. Okay, here we go. I got 20 of them. So we'll just roll right through them. One is dolt. You guys know that one? Dolt. D-O-L-T. It's a noun, a stupid person. And to use it in a sentence, I would say, after the way we have seen him act, it is apparent he is simply a dolt. Okay, so dolt. You can use that on your new husband. Are you a dolt? So but these are words that I want to put into your vocabulary that I'm expecting you to use. So take notes. Take notes right now. Just write them down and just use them in sentences this week and learn to use these. All right, number two. Number two is peckish. It's an adjective. It means hungry. It's nearly noon, and I'm feeling a mite peckish. I love using these words. These are words that I use or Polly uses. In fact, this is one that Polly gave me because Polly uses this word because we heard it one time when we were listening to a documentary about the British royalty, okay? And when we heard this lady use this word, we just cracked up. And so Polly will imitate this lady and has for like 15 years. The word, the number 3 word is loathe. This is a verb. It describes an intense dislike or disgust for. And the way we heard it is how I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the sentence as we heard it and as Polly says it to me. When King Edward abdicated the throne in order to marry the vile American socialite Wallace Simpson, the British people simply loathed her. How about that? Loathed. Yeah, they loathed her. Number 4, odoriferous. How's that one? It's an adjective. means having or giving off a smell, especially an unpleasant or distinctive one. You can use this with your grandchildren, use this with your little kids. Go straight to the shower, my son. You are much too odoriferous for the dinner table. And that'll increase their word power too. Odoriferous. Burton Kilgore Pruitt says, I've used that word for years. I guess it's not Southern. All right, you ready for another one? Here we go. Now, this is a word that Brenda Rainsberger brought to the table. And we have used this, Polly and I have used this for years too. It is disputatious. It's a noun. It means argumentative, disagreeable, disharmonious, contentious. You can see somebody and you can say, I'm glad I'm not married to her. She is a disputatious sort. Cindy Ziegler Oates says she's cracking up. Good. How would your daddy have said that? How would your daddy have said that, Cindy? I'm glad I'm not married to her. I'm glad I'm married to the redhead. Because the redhead is not disputatious. Okay, you ready? Number 6, hooligan. Hooligan is a noun. It means thug, lout, delinquent, vandal, ruffian, rowdy, troublemaker. In Scottish and Northern English, a hooligan is also a Keeley and a Ned. And in Australia and in New Zealand, a hooligan is a roughie and a hoon. A hoon. How about that? You hoon. Okay, here's how we use it in a sentence. You're going to get in trouble if you keep hanging out with those hooligans. Now, number 7, I saw this word in a Leslie Ann Tarabello a story she had written, and I've heard it before, and I just love it. The word, let's say it like they used to say it on the show. The password is skedaddle. Skedaddle. It's a verb. It means to run away, flee, make a run for it, take flight, make off, make a break for it, bolt, beat a hasty retreat, make a quick exit. Using it in a sentence. Boy, you had better skedaddle before your mama gets here. That's good, right? Yeah. Boy, you better skedaddle before your mama gets here. All right, number 8. Polly uses this one a lot. I don't know why she uses this one a lot, but she uses this one a lot to describe somebody. All right, number 8 is smarmy. Smarmy. It's an adjective. It means ingratiating, slick, flattering, fawning, slimy. How would we use that in a sentence? How about leave him off the invitation list? He's too smarmy. He's a bit too smarmy. And how about omnipotent? That's a good word. Omnipotent. It's an adjective. It means having unlimited power, able to do anything. See, in a sentence that would be, he was just a hack politician, but the way he acted, you'd have thought he was omnipotent. But he was smarmy. Probably a hooligan. Okay, the old man, Kevin Perkins, donated this word. I think this is very good. You ready? Sop. You guys are from the South. You know what that means. Sop is a verb, a Southern term for using an absorbent substance, such as bread, to soak up remaining liquid. Just use your biscuit there to sop up the rest of your gravy. That's what you do. Just use your biscuit there. Don't take your plate back till you sop up the rest of the gravy. Number 10. And this is also from Kevin Perkins. And the reason that I tell you it's from Kevin Perkins is because my wife might be watching and she would say, "Why did you use that word on the Blue Plate Special?" And now I can say, Kevin is the one who gave it to me. Flatulence. Flatulence. It's a noun, an accumulation of gas in the alimentary canal, expulsion of which can be humorous when audible. Also, flatulence is political communication. Used in a sentence, we would say that candidate used an unusually large amount of verbal flatulence in his speech. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you. That brings out the fifth grader in me. Yes, thank you. All right. Number 11 is curmudgeon. Curmudgeon. That's a good word. And I'm going to tell you, when I think curmudgeon, a face comes into my mind. Does a face come into your mind? Yeah? They're nodding. Everybody's nodding. Curmudgeon, a noun, a bad-tempered old person, usually a man. Here's the sentence. Andy Rooney was funny on 60 Minutes, but he was well known to be a curmudgeon. You know, he was on Letterman one time, and it was the first time, maybe the last time, he was on Letterman. And Letterman said, "Oh, we're glad to have you here." And he said, yeah. And David Letterman said, you know, you kind of have a reputation as a curmudgeon. And Andy Rooney said, "Well, I've heard you're not a very good interviewer, so let's get on with it." Wow, what a curmudgeon. Number 12, I love this word. This may be my favorite word on the list. Cahoots. That's just a great word. Cahoots. C-A-H-O-O-T-S. Cahoots. It's a noun. And get this. In the dictionary, it says it's an early 19th century term from the United States of unknown origin. Nobody knew where it came from. People just started kind of saying it. Somebody just woke up one day and used it. And everybody, it means to collude or conspire together secretly. Used in a sentence, it would be like this. "Yeah, Sheriff, I saw them, and I don't trust either one. You can just tell they're in cahoots." That's how you would use it. Cahoots. Yep, Kevin Perkins says, "Glad to be of service." But it's not your fart. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Quoting the baseball book. Okay. Let's see. Kevin Corcoran from Lochapoka, Alabama, has a syrup sopping festival. Really? Oh my gosh. All right. Number 13, impish. IMP. ISH. Impish. It's an adjective. Means inclined to be slightly naughty, mischievous, or mischievous. You know, I was narrating a book. I was doing a book. And it was a book that I had written. I wrote the book, and I wrote that word in it. And I was doing reading the book. And I said, mischievous. And I got stopped. The producer stopped me. Gabe Wicks from Harper Audio stopped me. He said, I believe that word is mischievous. I said, oh, thank you. But that's why when I'm listening to Audible, I'm shocked at how many mispronounced words there are. Because Gabe doesn't let me mispronounce a word. And how in the world did these guys get the mispronounced words? James Lee Burke has 25 books written about Louisiana, and every one of them is talking about, it has bass and brim. You know, bass and brim coming up in the lily pads, and the bass and brim were here, and here they were brim fishing along the bank. And the guy in 25 books says bass and bream. It drives. Where's Gabe Wicks when you need him? Okay. Though he had the face of an angel, there was an impish look in his eyes. Impish. Suzanne Luker says, me too. I'm shocked. Suzanne, your son is sitting right over here. Jacob Norse is sitting right over there with Matt. Yep. Are you shocked at that? I think you know he's here. Okay. Jacob Norse Luker. All right, number 14 is a verb, and the word is discombobulated. Do you know that word's actually in the dictionary? Discombobulated. That's a great word. It's a verb. It means confused and disconcerted. How would we use that in a sentence? How about this? Though she was only caring for 37 5-year-olds on the playground, the kindergarten teacher appeared to be quite discombobulated. I bet she is. Do you know that in the Cleveland airport, I saw this several years ago. I'm assuming it's still there. But when you go through security, and I love this because somebody has a great sense of humor in Cleveland, of all places, in Cleveland. I don't know if anybody from Cleveland is watching the show, but Cleveland's not usually my favorite place. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, except for the airport. But I mean, Cleveland. I mean, the only problem I've ever had going to Cleveland is that when you get to Cleveland, you're in Cleveland. But your airport, somebody has a great sense of humor, because right through security there is a huge sign that says recombobulation area. Isn't that great? Good for you, Cleveland. I'm a fan of Cleveland now, even though you have the Browns. I mean, could you come up with a more boring name for your football team? I mean, there's Tigers, there's Jaguars, there's, even in Ohio, a Buckeye. A Buckeye is better than a Brown. A Brown? A Brown. Well, what are we going to call them? Well, I think brown is the most exciting thing I can think of. That's the most exciting name I can imagine. The Browns? Oh my God. All right, number 15. Number 15 is a ne'er-do-well. A ne'er-do-well is an adjective describing someone who is lazy and irresponsible. Using it in a sentence. How would we use this in a sentence? That whole family was just a sorry bunch. Generation of ne'er-do-wells, what they were. Number 16, loquacious. You got that one? Loquacious? All right, spelled with a Q, not a C. All right, loquacious. It's an adjective. It means tending to talk a great deal. Talkative. And I've got a sentence that Polly will like. I'm putting myself out there saying this, but loquacious in a sentence. I tend to think of myself as mannerly and unobtrusive. My wife, however, believes me to be a bit loquacious. How's that? How's that for just like confession time? Here. Oh my gosh. Loquacious. Ricky Burt says, I'm loving watching the captions on the screen trying to spell these words. All right, number 17. We're counting them down now. Count them down. Number 17 is splendid. It's an adjective. It means magnificent, very impressive. You don't hear that word a lot unless you watch BBC, right? I mean, Downton Abbey, they use that word a lot. I mean, here we're like great or awesome, but they're splendid. That's a Downton Abbey word. The view from Windsor Castle is splendid. So, Tom Ziegler. Hey, Tom, you're on. I bet you and your sister are sitting there together eating popcorn, aren't you? Probably not. Well, let's see. Oh, wait. Is it? John Miller says, it was great seeing you again at the wharf with Rick and Bubba remotes. Thanks again for asking about my mother. She's still doing one, 94? Wow. You know what's great about being 94? You know what the greatest part about being 94 is? No peer pressure. That's probably, I think, the greatest thing. And Rick and Bubba, you talk about loquacious. Rick and Bubba are loquacious. Polly asked me one time, she said, what are they talk for 4 hours? For 4 hours? Yes, 5 days a week. 5 days a week. That's loquacious. I was at a quail hunt one time in Albany, Georgia, and Heath Shuler, who used to be the quarterback for Tennessee and was going to run for Congress, he was there, and Rick and Bubba were doing a remote from Albany, and at the Quail Unlimited thing, and so Heath Shuler, SEC quarterback, running for Congress, and so they said, hey, come on, Heath, come on, be on the show. And so I knew Heath, I knew Rick and Bubba, so I sat down with them, and they said hey to Heath, and Heath said, I'm running for Congress, and that was about all Heath got to say. I mean, they just rolled right over Heath. They rolled right over. And when we got through, Heath, we were walking away, and he said, what happened? What happened there? And I said, dude, you're running for Congress, and you just did your first morning show, and that's a good lesson for you to learn. that if you're on somebody's show, whether it's radio or TV, they are happy for you to talk. They are absolutely, you take it, run with it. They're happy for you to talk. But if you don't, they're not going to have dead air. You know, I mean, they can't have dead air. People would change the dial. And so, you know, they said hey to Keith, and Keith said hey. He said hey to them, and he paused, and they talked. I mean, they rolled right over it. It was actually pretty funny. Okay, number 18. Vociferous. That's a good word. Vociferous. It's an adjective meaning vehement, clamorous, vociferous. Though she pretended to be impartial, I found her speech at the demonstration to be quite vociferous. That's pretty good, right? Yeah. All right. Vociferous. All right. Number 19, chicanery. Now that is a good word. That is a good word. Chicanery. It's a noun. It's the use of trickery to achieve a political, financial, or legal purpose. Chicanery. Used in a sentence, that would be, while the man insisted he wanted to help, she effortlessly exposed his chicanery. You ready for number 20? Number 20. This has got to be a good one now, right? Okay. Number 20. This is the a honeymoon word that neither of you can be on your honeymoon. Okay. Number 20 is persnickety. Persnickety. It's an adjective meaning placing too much emphasis on trivial or minor details. Fussy. Okay, here's a sentence. I ain't marrying her. She's just like her mother. Both of them's persnickety. How about that? Okay, but you're not persnickety. You're not persnickety. No, she's not. Neither is he. Even though he looks a bit impish to me. I'm just saying. All right. So Heather Olson in Salt Lake City says that sounds like a made-up word. But, you know, all words were made up. I'm just saying, somebody made up every word. How's elk season going out there, Heather? For your husband and his brothers, how's elk season? We're just out in Jackson Hole, and I saw a moose. We were staying with some friends, and there was a moose in their driveway. I mean, this thing was as big as an 18-wheeler. I mean, yeah, and oh man, I'm seeing Kevin and Polly talking on this thing, and Kevin is saying, I don't know what Andy is talking about, saying that I gave him. Now, dear, you don't believe him. You know you don't believe him. Polly, when we got married, Polly accused me and Kevin of having some kind of timing thing that every time it would be time to clean up the kitchen, Kevin would call me. I was, got to take this call. Heather says her husband's out hunting. He's hearing a lot, but hadn't gotten anything yet. Well, you can't eat sound, so tell him to pull the trigger. Cindy Ziegler Oates, how cool is that? Yep. Well, you know, I would have swung down to Utah, but Nobody invited us. You know, a great sushi place is in Salt Lake. It's called the Happy Sumo. Now I'm not thinking I'm not thinking that when you think Salt Lake City, you think sushi. It just doesn't just pop in your mind. It's like, when Arby's started selling croissants, it's like, let's go to Arby's and have some French food. Kevin Perkins. Yep, me more than you. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for being with us today. And we will see you next week on the Blue Plate Special.